Welcome, everyone. I'm sure we'll have a few more people join us as we get going. This is the first Let's Talk Caregiving of 2022, and I want to start out by acknowledging that we are recording this meeting. So if you wish not to be seen, I'd like you to know ahead of time. And today's topic is our identity and our well-being after caregiving. We talk a lot about what caregiving means during the caregiving process, but how are we as we transition out of that role? We're very grateful to have AARP Georgia as our sponsor for this, and Kay Sabetta, Associate State Director of Community Outreach, is our contact there, and Kay will be on with us for a while today. Very thankful to have her with us as always. Here is an info slide from AARP Georgia. I will share this slide deck with everyone on the call, and it will be in the recording as well, which will be available next week. Please feel free to share the recording with your friends and colleagues or anyone who would be interested. And we will be doing at least 3 more this year, if not an additional 4th. So thank you to AARP Georgia. And I'm going to quit sharing my screen for now. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. What a wonderful group of people out there.
Yes.
So I'm Gwyneth Johnson, for anyone who I have not met before. I'm here at Second Wind Dreams, and we have been developing materials for caregivers, but we felt it was important that we offer something to bring us together for conversations, to help us all understand the role of caregivers better, the needs of caregivers, and to find supports for caregivers. I'd like to start by doing introductions. So I just introduced myself, and I'm going to hand it over to Kay, and then I will call on you all. If you do not choose to speak up, that's okay too. But we hope that this is a conversation. So Kay, I'll hand it to you.
Thank you. How are you, Gwyneth?
Doing great, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. I'm Kay Sabetta with AARP Georgia. We are so proud to be the presenting sponsor this year. Like last year, caregiving is very much part of one of our priorities. If anybody is familiar with AARP, we do a lot, but caregiving is one of those main pillars. So I'm really excited that you're here and that we're here to support our friends, families, and neighbors that are in the caregiving space. I want to apologize in advance. I'm double booked today, so I'm gonna skip out at 2:30, and you guys don't need me anyway, so you know exactly what to do. And I will drop our resource link in the chat.
Thank you. That's perfect. Thank you. We're very grateful. AARP Georgia has been amazingly supportive of this and allows us to make this a complimentary offering, which is very important. Melora, may I go to you next?
Yes, sorry, I have a printer going, so sorry about the background.
Sorry.
No, it's no, you're just not psychic. That's okay. Most of us aren't. I'm Melora Jackson, and I am the Virtual Dementia Tour Clinical Manager at Second Wind Dreams, and work with caregivers a lot. I was one at one time in the past. So this particular topic today is especially meaningful. They're all meaningful, but having been in a previous role of caregiving years ago, and having to sort of figure it out after the fact, how to process my emotions and what I did well, what I didn't do well, you know, any kind of guilt and things like that. So I'm thinking this this will be a very good dialogue for me personally as well as professionally, but hopefully I can add 2 cents that are helpful today.
Thank you for being with us, Melora. I'm very grateful.
Mhm.
Welcome, PK. We were just doing introductions. PK, do you mind introducing yourself to our group today?
Not sure she's got sound. She doesn't look like she hears us.
Yeah, I don't think so. We will come back to PK. She is our founder and CEO emeritus and a family caregiver, and we're very happy to have her with us today. Connie Cooper, may I ask you to introduce yourself? You're on mute, my friend. There you go.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Cooper, and I work with Pruitt Home First. I love that we're doing this. I can't say enough about it. I have a real heart for caregivers, and I have for many, many years. I was a part of the Rosalind Carter Institute Coalition for Caregiving. I think I was there, PK, when she was there the first time, so I got a chance to meet her. And it's just a tremendous opportunity. So thank you all for doing this.
It's our pleasure. Thank you for being here. PK, can I call on you to introduce yourself? Okay,
Yes.
excellent. Welcome.
Oh, it's so good to see your faces here this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. This is fantastic. I know we're all going through a lot right now, but you know that Second Wind Dreams is here to support you always. I'm PK Bevel. I founded Second Wind Dreams in '97 and created the Virtual Dementia Tour in 2001. My job right now is just to be a support person for Second Wind and to, you know, sort of be spoiled rotten by the team. You know, when you get to the emeritus stage, I think there's a certain amount of tiptoeing around me that happens, and I do so appreciate it. But thank you all for being here today. It means a great deal. Kim, I love your glasses.
Thank you, PK. Tammy, would you introduce yourself?
Well, I'm a caregiver and have been for past 6 years. And then there was a little halt there because things were going really well. And I started experiencing some questions as to my sanity. And I spoke with a dear friend of mine, Connie Cooper, and she recommended me join in and hear what y'all have to share, that it might could help me.
I think knowing that others are going through similar things and being able to talk with other caregivers and share resources amongst each other is really important. So I'm very glad you're here.
And thank y'all.
Jerry, may I call on you to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am a former caregiver. I cared for my wife for 5 years. She passed away in 2019 from a early onset brain disorder known as frontotemporal degeneration. She had the language version, PPA, primary progressive aphasia. And since 2017, for the last 5 years, I have been a group leader for a FTD support group in the South Alabama area. I also serve with the AFTD as an ambassador for this area. And I was invited to this. I got a email from Della Sanchez with the Area Agency on Aging here in Mobile. So.
Wonderful. We're very glad to have you with us, and thank you for your service. That's such an important role to play.
Thank you.
Kay Petrov? I'm not sure what. No worries. There you
that
go.
better? Okay, now I've got it.
Perfect.
I'm I'm Kay. My husband had cancer for 8 years and passed away in November. And a friend of mine who does Boom Magazine, which is the elderly magazine in our area, sent me a link to this. And I read through some of the questions that were on the link, and I kind of have experienced many of those things and kind of wanted to kind of feel what other people who have been through this or are going through this or who do this long term, and I certainly applaud you if you do, kind of get some input from everybody.
Thank you for being with us. Della, may I call on you? There you go.
Okay, can you see me? Can you hear me? All right. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Della Sanchez, and I'm the Alabama Cares Coordinator for the South Alabama Regional Planning Commission Area Agency on Aging. And anytime I see something that's coming up with AARP about information for caregivers, I really jump on the chance to get on board for this. And I also share that link with all the caregivers that I'm serving, that I'm offering respite to them. With COVID and everything, it is so challenging to continue to reach out to caregivers and help them understand that we validate their struggles, their grief, their guilt. And so anytime I can get some information, I certainly share it. And just like Jerry has been a real good advocate for this area to help out, I share emails with him so, he can reach out to his network. So I was just trying here to find some more information. I'm going to partner with AARP to do a live Facebook event next month. And we're talking about caregiving. Burnout is real, because it truly is. And now with COVID, we're going into our third year, and it's just a very difficult time for caregivers, even without COVID. So now we have to put that in there. So
Thank you so much. We're glad you're with us today. Kim, will you introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, I'm Kim Mcrae. I live in Atlanta, and I'm a huge fan of the Virtual Dementia Tour and Second Wind Dreams and their team. I was a caregiver, my husband and I, for all four of our parents. And I became a full-time caregiver when I was 35 for my mom, who had yet undiagnosed Lewy body dementia and progressive supranuclear palsy. So caregiving is my heart. And once it ended, I made the whole aging space my career. I changed career paths. So I co-founded the Culture Change Network of Georgia. So I'll tell you about that later. Glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Roseanne. We can't hear you, dear. I don't know what's going on. I saw you come off of the microphone like that. Okay. Nope.
Old school. How about that? Can you?
There you go. Yeah.
All right. Unplug the microphone. Hi. I cared for my mom in my house for 6 years. I'm also the creator and host of Daughterhood, the podcast for caregivers with Daughterhood, the organization. I run support groups for caregivers, and my mother passed last year. So now I'm in that space of now what? And anytime I can be involved with Second Wind Dreams, it's a dream for me. So I appreciate you having this. And Kay, I appreciate all the resources that AARP provides because they're lifesavers, truly. So thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you. And I know this is taking time to introduce everyone, but this is a personal conversation. So I think it's important we know who's on the call. Crystal, do you mind introducing yourself?
Hey guys, my name is Crystal Whitehead. I am the caregiver interventionist for Middle Alabama Area Agency on Aging. So I work one-on-one with caregivers that are struggling to adapt to the changes that dementia causes in their lives and their loved ones' day-to-day experience. So I'm going to jump back off video and mute myself because I've got people that are going to be in and out of my office all day today. So
Very good.
it's
Thank
nice
you
to
for
meet you
joining us.
guys.
Nice to meet you. Lynne Joyner.
I'm Lynne Joyner. I work with the Heart of Georgia Omaha Area Agency on Aging. I have been a short-term intermittent caregiver for my mother, but just recently have a family member who's been diagnosed with dementia, and starting that process of losses and where do I go from here?
Thank you for joining us. Raynard Murray.
Hi, Gwyneth. Thanks for
Hi.
having me here today, and thanks for setting this up. I am Raynard Murray. I'm a new board member for Second Wind Dreams, and I'm looking forward to hearing the conversation and discussion. I actually serve as a remote caregiver for my mom, who lives in Louisiana, so this is all very new to me in terms of providing direct services as a caregiver. But before that, I had worked for the federal government doing various things with AARP and other entities that do caregiving. So I'm looking forward to the conversation and discussion. Gwyneth, and thanks to you and PK for all the work that you guys do at Second Wind Dreams.
Thank you. Michelle, welcome. Sorry.
It's okay. Thank you. Thank you. How are you all doing? Apologize for the delay. Was in another Zoom meeting. But I'm glad to be here. Am I kind of tell me what are we introducing?
We're just introducing ourselves. This is a fairly personal conversation, so I wanted everybody to meet everyone online.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. My name is Michelle Bolden. I'm the owner for Home Helpers of North Atlanta, which is a personal care and companion care agency. I'm also the founder and chief education officer for Call for Caring, which is a nonprofit that supports caregivers through their journey.
Excellent. Thank
Glad
you
to
for
be
being
here.
here. Darlene.
Hi, everybody. My name is Darlene Myers. I currently work for a program for dementia and just seniors, and it's called My Friend's House. We're in a huge transition right now. We do have a new director, and the reason I was doing all that jumping around because it just moved my office. So it's been a day, and I'm just excited. I love connecting with and networking with any program that's relating to dementia. Excuse me. And we lost our mother the day before Mother's Day last year. So I was connecting with PK because of her loss of her father. And I think that's where we started talking about what to do after you're done. Even though you're still caregiving for other people, you still have that personal connection with the person that's closest to you.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. Michelle Kelly. Okay. She may not have heard me. Kimberly Rogers.
Hello, it's good to see everyone.
Hi.
Hey there. I know we have a very noisy office today, so I didn't want you guys to see me going as I'm trying to concentrate on this. I work with Southern Georgia Area Agency on Aging, and we are an AARP age-friendly community. We're beginning to start that, so we're very excited about that. And we want that to be something definitely that our caregivers in the area are able to take advantage of and improve their lives and improve the lives of the people that they're taking care of. I am a communications specialist with the AAA, but I am was a substitute caregiver for my grandmother who had dementia. She passed away in January of 2021. So I'm glad to be here with you all.
Thank you. Christy Joyner. Hello.
Hello. I am relatively new here. I've only been with the Southern Area Agency on Aging for a few months. Prior to that, I was 20 years with a provider that provided services. I'm really excited to be here and be a part of this, working with Kimberly and Connie with the dementia programs. So it's all nice to meet all of you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for being here. Della? Or Barbara?
I already went.
Oh, you did? I'm so sorry.
Okay. No
This
problem.
gets confusing after a while. How about Barbara?
Hello, and I'm present. I am Barbara Welcher, Augusta, Georgia. And in 1999, my son had a motorcycle accident. And at that time, I became a caregiver. Later, we were able to find a place where he could get his care in the home, and that was very helpful. However, anytime he doesn't have care, then I am the caregiver. And as of last week, he tested positive for COVID. And so I was the caregiver for all of last week. So I have been initial, then intermittent over the last 24 years as a caregiver. And so just wanted to hear what you all have to offer today and be a part of this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. LaDonna.
Hello, I'm LaDonna. I'm with the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, and I love Second Wind Dreams, and I'm just happy to be a part of today.
Well, thank you for being here. David Lee.
Oh.
Good afternoon. This is Mr. David K. Lee. I am from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm a volunteer with the local chapter, and I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. Connie? Connie Miss, I'm sorry. There's two Connies.
Connie puts in the chat, she doesn't have the ability to have a camera or speak, but she's listening. And so she said hello to everyone in the chat. She's actually our caregiver specialist here at Southern Georgia AAA.
Well, welcome, Connie. Judy. Okay, I don't know if Judy can hear us. How about Felicia?
Hi, I am a CLM student. I am interning under Miss Regina Goodman. She went ahead and sent me this way I can go ahead and observe. She let me know ahead of time that she wouldn't be able to attend this meeting, but gave me the option to continue to still join, and I want to learn more. So that's why I'm here.
Well, welcome. Have I missed anybody? I apologize. This gets very confusing. Katrina or Judy?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was actually talking to myself. I didn't realize I didn't unmute. Let me also put my camera on. I was in line for a COVID test. Hello, everyone. My name is Judith Susan Rocha. I am in Chicago. I was given this information about this roundtable through Victoria Russo, which is part of the City of Chicago, Department of Human Health Services. And I provided care to mom for 16 years. My sister and I did. Most recently, in the last about 5 years, mom was living with me. And mom passed December 13th. So just over a month ago. I don't know, at this point, 7 years ago or so, made a switch. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And in my career path, I was doing work around early childhood education and different aspects through the lifespan. But with my doctoral program in 2013, I made a shift into working around the health and well-being of caregivers, given my personal situation, right? And that context that I was coming into it with. So during that doctoral program, I developed an intervention that's focused on Latinas that are providing care, family caregiving around dementia. And I also co-facilitate virtual support groups for Spanish speakers. Every other Wednesday, we started that when the pandemic started, well, in May of 2020. And a lot of my research and service work is really focused now on the other end of the lifespan, so in the aging world. And I'm happy to be here. I really need this conversation, and I'm happy to hear from folks about their own journeys with all of this. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think one last person, and that's Katrina. Hi, Michelle. I'm sorry. Okay. I don't know if Katrina can hear me, but if you do hear me, you can introduce yourself in the chat. We are curious about you. I'd like to go ahead and start with some of the questions that I provided in the email that came out. These questions are conversation starters, and this is a group conversation. So please speak up. Our goal is to learn from each other here today. So what feelings do you experience with the loss of your caregiver role, for those of you who experienced that?
Well, I'll jump in.
Thank you, Jerry.
One of the first things that I experienced was, as a caregiver, it's 24/7. Your time, your energy is focused on the person you're caring for. In my case, it was my wife. And when that caregiving role ends, all of a sudden, all of that ends. The hospice people who were coming to the house stop coming. All of the external appointments that you've got to keep track of, all of that stops. And then all of a sudden, you're just in this position of, what do I do now? That's kind of how I felt. It was kind of a lost feeling. But for me, what helped was, I was already involved with working with the Association for Frontotemporal Degeneration. I already was working as a facilitator for the support group, and they reached out to me and were revamping their volunteer leadership program and asked if I would consider becoming an ambassador. I almost jumped at the chance because it was all of a sudden, I've got a purpose again. And I think that's the big thing, is that you kind of lose your sense of purpose when you lose that caregiving role, because so much of your time, your energy, I mean, your whole life revolves around being a caregiver and trying to provide the best care you can. And then all of a sudden that's taken away, it's gone, and you're just left with the memories, and a lot of them are not good memories because they're the recent memories. So it's a difficult transition.
Absolutely. And I think purpose and finding your purpose throughout all of life's transitions is a really difficult thing, but this transition in particular.
I think too, Jerry, to kind of piggyback on what you said, for me, and Dad lived with me for 4 years, but I cared for him for 11 years before he moved in with us. And I felt that hole that you were talking about, Jerry, after it's all over with, and it's all those doctor's appointments and everything are gone, and worrying about what he's going to eat next, and whether or not he's gaining weight, and does he have the right clothes, and are they comfortable enough, and all those things are at the front of your mind all the time. But for me, when all of that stopped, I knew I need to get and I still am struggling with it. I know I need to get a purpose. I know I do, but I don't wanna. I'm still grieving. I just wanna stop it all. I know, as being a trained psychologist, I know I'm screaming to try to find something to do, but I just can't. I would much rather sit and be alone and think about him. And when I think about him, there's a place right at the top of my stomach that lurches. It's like a physiological response to missing him. And Jerry, what you also said about feeling like those last memories are so bad, you know, if somebody could help me with that too, or help all of us with that too, because at the end it is so intense, and those decisions that you're having to make about your loved one are difficult and painful, and you have a tendency not to be able to forget that stuff. And being able to move from the mourning period to the I don't want to do anything because I keep thinking about if I'd done this better, if I'd done that differently, if this had happened, I keep thinking maybe we're all in a wilderness afterwards and we're supposed to be just sitting back and mildewing for a while. But anyway, that's all.
Thank you.
If I could jump in, following that, as I mentioned, a lot of the work that I started to do since 2013 really revolved around mom, with the creation of this intervention and then the other groups that I was a part of or helped start. So for me, there's definitely been this sense of like loss of identity, not only a personal one, but a professional one, right? Like I've been struggling so much with, do I even have a place in this type of work anymore? Like, do I even want to, thank you so much for saying that, what you just said about not wanting to, because I was feeling guilty that I didn't want to, for several weeks now. And slowly, I'm starting to reflect on so much, right? And I want to continue to do that. And I feel really fortunate that I work for a university and I was able to, not take sick days for the last 4 years that I worked there. So they've accumulated. So now I'm actually able to do FMLA to really just figure things out, because I really cannot see taking care of 113 students when all I want is to be able to take care of my mom again, like all those thoughts that you mentioned about how difficult and how intense it was. Like her Alzheimer's diagnosis happened 16 years ago. It seemed like we went through the stages in a very slow pace, but the last 2 weeks, I swear to you, I felt like anything and everything I anticipated the final stage to be, which I actually thought was going to be months worth of time or maybe even years worth of time of the final stage, happened in 2 weeks. And it was so terribly intense and excruciating. But to think right now that I'd rather be doing that than not having her here, it is really painful to me. Like I still just can't get past that, and it's a lot. So I feel really validated by hearing what you just shared, PK. Thank you.
Well, if I might add, Judy, your loss was very recent. And I think it's only natural that you're going to go through that period of wandering in the wilderness and just not really finding a direction. One thing that helped me is I joined a grief share group very shortly after my wife's death. It's a 13-week program that kind of walks you through the grief experience with others who are also going through a grief experience. So you have this small group setting, and then they show videos of other individuals who have gone through the grief experience. Grief is something that I'm in a FTD spouse survivor group and a Facebook group. And there are people on there that comment from time to time. And grief is one of these journeys that doesn't just suddenly end. It doesn't have this staging that you can go, oh, it's over. For me, as each year passes, life gets a little bit easier. I'm at the 3rd year now. My wife passed 3 years ago this coming April. And one of the things that's helped me a lot is just getting involved with people. And that was something I had to force myself to do. When I would go out to a restaurant and I would see other couples about my age, and my wife had an early onset dementia. She passed, she was 67 years old. We were just getting ready. We hadn't really planned our retirement. We hadn't really talked about it at that point, but we were looking towards that day. And then all of a sudden I find myself retired with myself being a widow, and I'm having to try to reconstruct my life. But I would go to a restaurant and I would see other couples that were just, enjoying being together. And it would really depress me because I'm thinking that should be me. My wife should be sitting across the table talking to me. And here I am all alone on a corner table. And it took me a long time, but just forcing myself to go out and to be around other people before I got over that. And now it doesn't bother me at all. I go out to eat on my own all the time, but I have a group of friends too that I go out with. And so, over time, things do get better. I don't want to sound cliched because everybody says, oh, time heals all wounds, but it takes a while. And there are days I still have where something can trigger a memory and all of a sudden I'm back in tears. So, grief is a strange thing.
I like what Jerry said is you go back and forth, and I've never been one to, how everyone can tell you when someone died, the date they died, and all of that. I've never been that person. But now that my mother passed the day before Mother's Day, I think that was God letting me know that this is one date you're going to remember because it was the day before Mother's Day. And I often tell my group, you're one more time doing this process. And I went through all the process, and I encouraged my whole family, my siblings to participate so that they can work with their one more time, all of the pictures, all the events. I would gather them all together and we would do those things. But yet I still don't like passing the nursing home that she was at.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You mentioned that. It took me probably 6 months before I could go down. It was off of a major highway in this area. And every time I passed that intersection, all I could think of was her last day there. And she passed early in the morning, and that was her last trip, was in a hearse going down that road. And that just kept going through my mind over and over again every time I passed that intersection, till one day I finally got the courage and I turned down that intersection and I went down to the nursing home where she had been, and I parked outside the window of her room, what had been her room. And after that, I've not had that feeling again. So it's just kind of like I had to confront that fear.
I know Roseanne has wanted to say something for a little bit.
Okay. No, I was going to say the isolation in caregiving and the isolation in grief is a combination, because I know a lot of people think, well, now you're free, and they don't understand that the freedom came with the cost of your person.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't understand it. And I feel like as caregivers, they don't understand what we're doing, and then they don't understand our grief. And Judy, I can tell you, I mean, it's like 10 minutes that your mom's been gone, right? Because it was just happened. And it took probably, I would equate it to still being in the room, still being next to her bed. And it took probably 6 weeks before I left her bed and was able to get to the couch. And then it took another 6 weeks before I was able to get out of the room from that day in my mind after my mother passed, because you're immersed in it. You're in it. You're living it every second. So it takes time to be able to separate yourself from that part. And then the other flip side, what PK had said about our responsibility. We have such responsibility for the people that we're caring for. We are responsible for everything that goes into their lives. And then all of a sudden it stops. And it's like, well, now what am I supposed to do? But the other part of that is that we didn't do anything to them. They had whatever it is they had, and that was the cause of their death. It wasn't because we missed something, or we should have seen this coming, or I wish I could have done this, or that. It's normal for us to feel that way because we are so responsible. But the underlying thing is that they were dying and we were trying to help them. And it's trying to make a balance of those two things, because it's hard and it's our responsibility and we carry that. So just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Roseanne. Thank you. Anyone else? While we're on this first question, we don't have to do all the questions. I just want to give you all a chance to talk and discuss this very important issue.
I want to mention that Roseanne has been doing some major podcasts on this very subject of grief and death and dying. And Roseanne, if you feel like it, if you could put in the chat box how to get in touch with you and how to get a hold of your resources, Judy. And also Tammy, yours is pretty rough and raw. I don't remember Petrov. I can't remember your first name, and I apologize for that. Yeah, and yours is still, I think so many on this call, it's still so raw that there's got to be that beginning point after the death. For me, it was Dad was in the hospital for 6 days. We went in, he was ambulatory, and 6 days later, he was gone. And if one more person said to me, well, he was 94, he lived a good life, I'm going to hit him. I'm going to hit him real hard, so hard that I'll be on Dateline. I don't care how old the person is or how infirmed. Well, they're in a better place. You know what? I don't know. I just don't like the euphemisms that are the placating that goes with the after it's raw. So Roseanne has some resources that are written for the raw part. So for those of you who are in that raw place, I would certainly seek her out and listen to some of her podcasts. So you can pay me later, Roseanne, for that. And also you will just love her.
I was going to say, thank you, PK. I'll pay you later.
Count on it.
Tammy.
Yes.
I saw that you have a hand up.
No, but I could say something.
Okay.
My daughter in 2015, she was diagnosed with a glioblastoma. And anyway, fast forward, she had it removed and she was living life, on her own, and she had to come back home. And I was not only her mother, but her caregiver. And I tried to explain that to people, and because there is a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences. And she is still with us and she's still alive, but that robbed who she was before that. So in one sense, there's grief there because that part of her that the tumor took away is no longer there. And so I had to adjust to a new language, if you will, and learning how to communicate with her and her deficits that came with the damage of what the tumor had took away from her. And so I threw myself into what most mothers do for their children. They're better than FBI agents, I think, when you're looking up what can I do to save my child. And so all this for years, the adrenaline of, doing the right diet, looking up the right things for her, and, keeping her alive. While not, and trying not to focus on the deadline was challenging, because there was a time there going through the caregiving, you're given statistics. And so people tend to focus on, well, I only got 5 years and 10 days, instead of I just have today. And then do your best that you can do. And that best may not be the best to the person you're caring for. And because they don't understand. So during the past almost 7 years, there was a time there where she was doing really well and there was no progression, which I found myself in the place of, what am I experiencing? And that was, I believe, like Jerry said, feeling lost, because you don't know what to do. You have thrown yourself into this caregiver role that you identify with 24/7, like someone else said, it's 24/7. Then it's not there. And you find yourself in a place where it's almost like an abyss. You can't get out of it. You don't know what to do. You don't know who you are. And you're sick. Usually you wind up sick yourself. And that's what happened. And it's happening to me. And so now I found myself, I'm my own caregiver. And I don't even know what to do for myself. And in the middle of me finding out that I had a brain tumor, then I was figuring out, how am I going to take care of myself and my daughter? And she's doing okay at the moment. At that time, then she has a reoccurrence of hers. So now I'm back in the caregiver for my daughter. And I don't know that I'm being able to this time. So you find yourself in the places, what do you do? And how do you hang on and not give up and hang on to that hope? Wow. I know cognitively I'm not going to be able to care for her as fierce as I did when it was first diagnosed versus now, because we're both sick. And I think having a good support team or someone to talk to, like all of you, that can relate or validate or, encourage, is a wonderful thing. Because recently getting in contact with Connie Cooper, an old friend of mine, she has helped me realize that I'm not crazy, that all these feelings I have is what a caretaker experiences, except I didn't have anyone to talk to or identify with or that could understand it. So I'm grateful for all of you sharing.
Tammy, I'm grateful that you shared with us today too. May I ask you and Connie, what are the resources that are around you all, and where are the gaps?
There's quite a few, really, Tammy, if you don't mind, in this area, but I don't hear of very many groups at all that do offer support like this. And we have a really good area agency on aging here. There would seem to be resources in the area, but they're just not well known.
Okay.
I had planned, especially after talking to Tammy, and I knew her daughter when she was just a little girl, so this is hard for me to watch her go through. And I don't have any right to be doing what I'm doing right now, but I've been sitting here crying the whole time she's been talking. I see this happening far too often, which is what drew me to the caregiving, different caregiver groups. The Rosalynn Carter Institute being my first experience, really, other than being a nurse. I've been a nurse for 40 some years, a provider. So I've been in caregiving as long as I took care of my family. You know, I raised my brother and my sisters. And so I've been a caregiver all my life. But when I found out that my real niche was taking care of people, I just felt like anything that mentioned caregivers, and until I really did, and Michelle Kelly, she's on here, she's the one who really got me involved in all of this. And we were co-chairs for Northeast Georgia Area Agency on Aging. And I was blessed to be able to participate in every meeting, you know, just about with RCI. And I realized that there was so much more about caregiving than I knew. So, and I was so thankful to be part of it. And since that time, I've decided I'm a certified dementia practitioner, but I want to become a support group facilitator, because I don't see a lot of support groups in the area. I couldn't tell Tammy, you know, well, go to this group or go to that group, you know, or do this or that, other than just talking to her from my experience. And so that's something that really needs to be worked on in this area. And I feel because of the things that are here that there has to be groups. They're just not, you just don't know where to find them. And so anyway, Tammy started sharing with me how she felt. And when she did, I just, it was typical of what you hear when you speak to, you know, there's the husband who, you know, she needs to really give attention to, who loves her dearly. But at some point it's like, well, what, you know, I'm only one person here. What am I supposed to do? And all of this hit Tammy at the same time with her daughter and with, you know, where she's at now. And so I just felt like when I received this invitation that this would be a good thing for her. And I'm so glad that she got on.
I am too. I appreciate you both very much. And I think that we should reconnect again to talk about resources that we found and maybe share opportunities for us to advocate for those resources where each of us are. I'm thrilled that we have people from so many parts of the country today. But having someone to talk to and with who has gone through this is really important. Support groups and grief counselors. And so I'd like to propose that we get back together, this same group. So I'll reach out to you and see what resources I can find. If you have any you'd like to share with me, to share with the group, I would love to do that as well. And I didn't mean to stop the conversation, but what you're talking about is so important.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. For those of you in the morning place, though, you be easy with yourselves. You may not be, you know, people are going to suggest you get in a support group, and you know, you do a lot of those kinds of things, and be honest with yourself. Sit with it for a while before you decide to do that, because honestly, you have a lot to sift through in your brain too. And you know, it may seem like it's not important at the time, but it's essential that you take the time to do that. And Tammy, you know, what you're going through right now, I don't think is gonna it's just going to be so hard that you're going to need all the help you can get. So if a support group and things like that will work for you, absolutely go for it. But we just have to find the right one for you. And that's important. You're caring for a younger person. You're dealing with a different set of issues. Although what you described in caregiving for your daughter is much like what we deal with when we care for people living with dementia.
Yeah.
You described a lot of the same thing. So I don't want to close that door on you, but I hope and pray we find the right group for you, the right support system. Connie?
Yes, ma'am.
Bless your heart.
Oh.
I tell you, I'm so thankful for people like you. They're just not enough of you. So I know some cloning companies, maybe put you in touch with those. We could use like 10 billion of you. So thank you for that and for your caring heart with that.
Mm-hmm.
Kim.
It's I just am hugging all of you so hard right now. If I was in person with you, I'd be hugging everybody.
And she's a good hugger.
Yes, I love to hug. And it's been a long, long time since I lost my people. But one thing that I learned from a counselor, I got a counselor when I was going through all of this. And it was really helpful. His name was Glenn Calhoun, and he's retired now, but I love that man so much. I don't think we would have made it without him. So I'm throwing that out. But one thing I learned was that a lot of this, when the caregiving ends, it's like we're having PTSD. It's like you're going through PTSD. And I've read a couple articles about that, but I think that's a really interesting perspective and something that even needs more research, because everybody when things just suddenly end, looking at how PTSD works and figuring out how to use some of those coping mechanisms, I think that could be helpful for all caregivers. So I just wanted to plant that seed and know that this is such real pain and trauma. And especially, gosh, you guys have been going through it during COVID on top of it all. I mean, that adds another layer that it's impossible to even describe. And unless somebody's gone through it, several of y'all have said this, nobody knows what it's like unless you've gone through it. And I was young when it all happened, and I was 35 when I became a full-time caregiver for Mom. And now I'm 56. And a lot of my girlfriends and friends throughout my life are now writing me and calling me and saying, oh my God, I had no idea what you were going through, because they're going through it now. So anyway, I'm hugging y'all.
Thank you, Kim.
And that's the important part of a support group, because nobody gets it like you get it. That's the important part, because you can say things, gee, I'm really tired. And people are like, why are you tired? A caregiver never says, why are you tired? A caregiver knows. And it's the same thing with grief.
Yeah.
Because every day is like this. You don't have to explain, I don't know how, I can't even feel my body. And it's like, oh yeah, I get that. And then you don't feel so alone. That's the beauty of the support group and a counselor. I always say to my counselor, I hope you're enjoying your boat, the SS Roseanne, because I was seeing her twice a week at one point. So, but what are you going to do? So.
Tammy had expressed some feelings about the PTSD, Kim. She had said it's like a PTSD, and I said, well, I never thought about it that way, but it's true. You're going through all of this. It's withdrawal. It's post-traumatic stress. It's so many things that you're even afraid to look at and say, why would I feel that? Why would I feel that way? Look at what happened to so-and-so and what they went through. How dare I have some of those same feelings? And so, but you're the only other person, Kim, that I've heard mention about PTSD, but I did want to point that out because Tammy had talked with me about that. It's like PTSD. And it is, I can't, I just can't imagine what she's going through, even though I've been a caregiver all my life. I can't imagine if it were my daughter. I can't imagine. And then she's not telling you that she also lost her mom during some of this.
Oh.
So it's been very hard on her.
I can't even imagine. We are very close to time. I am very happy to keep this call going as long as you would like me to. Is there anything in particular that you all would like me to bring to a follow-up conversation? Any research I can do, anyone I can try to find to participate in the conversation? Jerry had to sign off, but he did share his contact information, and I'll be reaching out to him to ask him more about those details. Any questions or comments or anything anyone would like to share at this point?
I just want to thank each of you for sharing your journey and how you feel. It helps me as a family member, a friend, a provider to support these families. The after effect of it, we've been with them through their journey. Every day helping to provide that care. And so I actually had a client that passed this morning. So, and this is a great opportunity to make sure the follow-up happens after the service and et cetera, in which normally I go by the family's home after the service and everyone has gone away, just to let them know we're in their hearts, and we continue to reach out to them. So this is helpful, and I'll probably be sharing this information with her as well, since she just lost her mom today. But I just want to tell you how much I appreciate what you all are sharing, and it helps me to be a better supporter as a family member, as a provider, and just as a human. And so a lot of the resources that we offer for caregivers are actually when the person is here and they're supporting them. But we also need to think about the resources that we provide after this, right? Because it's such a long journey, and it is a loss of part of you actually when that person passes. So thank you for sharing. It's absolutely given me some ideas to kind of do things better.
Would anyone like to stay on the call for a while? Or I know we're at time. I will reach back out to you all with a follow-up opportunity. Hopefully you all have my email address from all the emails I sent out recently. If you do not, I will share that in the chat.
Melora, I think you wanted to say something.
I did, but I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. All I can, well, first of all, I second everything that everybody else said. It is tough. There's no statute of limitations on grief. I think one important thing, in addition to a possible follow-up conversation, because boy, we just got to the tip of the iceberg. There's so much to be said and considered. But it would be helpful, I think, to, I know these are recorded so people can view them later. Could you, Gwyneth, share just so everybody knows, it's fresh in our minds, where you can view the recording if you want to go back over something, or share this with somebody else that you think needs to hear this that wasn't able to come today. I think that's real important with this particular one.
Yep, absolutely. So I will send out a copy or a link to the recording to everyone who participated, and then it will also be available through our YouTube channel. But I'll send you all those resources so that you can share that and view it yourself.
Thanks, Gwyneth. I just wanted to say one more thing to think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else who has lost a loved one feel the need to talk in detail about what actually happened? I don't think we talk enough about what actually happens at the close to the death. I think it would, for me, I'm happy to talk about what happened with Dad that last 6 days. But I wonder if I might be crazy, that's too stupid. So if it's okay, well, I see a lot of people. So I just wonder if at some point we might consider lending a hugely caring ear, which we all have here, to hearing each of our stories of the death. And I know Melora lost her brother, severe heart attack, boom, he was gone. I mean, he was here one day and he was gone the next. That's a different kind of grief, but it's horrible grief. So I just, something to think about, and please shake your heads again when I say these words. Do you think I might be crazy? Okay, because I really want you to be honest with me, because for some weird reason I feel the need to talk about it to a listening ear, and I'd like to hear, because we all handle this so differently, but nobody talks about it. It's like after the death is over, you are not only ostracized a bit because you're in a different role now and nobody knows what to do with you, and they don't know what to say to you, and they don't know whether to ask you any questions. But the reality is, I think we should be free to talk about that kind of thing. Now, I'm not suggesting that you go find a friend and grab them by the ear and say, let me give you the down and dirty of what happened. I'm saying a group like this would be a great support way to do that, possibly, to think about.
Excellent.
And I'll take a Xanax after this is over.
Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
PK, thank you. That gives us some jumping off points for our next get together. I will be reaching out to you all. If you don't have my email address, it is here in the chat, and we'll schedule a follow-up to this.
Thank you so much, Gwen.
This was a pleasure and an honor to be with you all today.
Thank you.
I'm going to share the screen one more time just so you all can see some of these resources that are available. Whoops. Okay, there's that one. So there's contact information for us. The next roundtable, which is not our follow-up to this, but the next roundtable discussion is April 28th. I will reach out with one in between that time and now. And just to share the, there we go, the resources from AARP Georgia again. I'm very grateful that they've allowed us to do this and continue to do this throughout the year.
Wonderful.
And we look forward to talking with you. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to receive personal emails, ideas, anything we can do to help bring this next conversation together.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Y'all take good care.
Thanks for the hugs.
There's lots coming to you, Tammy.
Thanks. Look forward to our next meeting.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So Gwyneth, hi PK.
Hello.
Hi Melora. Nice to meet you.
Oh, she just went away.
Oh, she popped off. I've told PK and I will tell you the same. What you guys do is amazing, and anything I can ever do to help, please know I would do
Thank
so.
you.
Whatever.
I'm so grateful you were on the call today, and
Oh.
it's a pleasure to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. Thanks for the invite. It's so important, and you can see how important it is by everybody. And I don't know if you noticed, I'm sure you noticed, they start to talk and everybody's like this. And then it's like, oh,
yeah,
it's an exhale, So I think it's just important. So
it is. And PK, I can't agree with you more about giving people the opportunity to describe what happened.
What happened?
I
Yeah.
wouldn't record it, but yes.
Absolutely not.
True. True.
I would
So for
make
the
it,
next,
I would
the
make
next
it clear
meeting-
that you weren't recording it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I had misgivings about recording this one, but I let people know that we were doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, I just realized you were still recording. So
Oh, I'm so sorry.
no, that's okay. That's all right. That's what
Um,
made me realize it.
Yeah.